And I'm grateful again that the men and women who serve this city on the front line are providing the type of system of care that's going to be necessary in order to bring structure and calm in the city.
Quick follow-up, when you say trends, what do you mean? Can you give us an example of a couple of the trends you're seeing?
Oh, you're not aware of some of these large gatherings?
You're talking about the mob actions?
Well, no, that's not appropriate. We're not talking about mob actions. I didn't say that.
What happened Sunday?
Okay, hold on a second, okay? Respectfully, these large gatherings, just hold on a second, y'all. I promise you, we have time to talk. It's important that we speak of these dynamics in an appropriate way. This is not to obfuscate what is actually taking place, but we have to be very careful when we use language to describe certain behavior. There's history in this city. I mean, to refer to children as like baby Al Capones is not appropriate. So let me finish, please, okay? What I'm saying is that when you ask for very specific examples, there have been other attempts to have large gatherings, and we've intercepted those attempts.
All right, guys, so we got to talk about woke Chicago Mayor Brandon Johnson, who is responding to the teen takeovers that are destroying his city. Now, the reason why I'm doing this video is because Brandon Johnson is repeatedly proving how this guy is clearly the worst mayor in America, okay? It didn't take long for us to see that this progressive radical lunatic is running this city into the ground, okay? And part of the reason why is that this guy is scared to tell the truth about these teenagers and the fact that they are agents of chaos and a destruction to society, right? And if you actually call out these teenagers, okay, that are doing these teen takeovers, I just talked about the most recent one in Chicago that happened where they basically ransacked and destroyed a 7-Eleven. If you call it for what it is, if you call it a mob, okay, if you call them criminals, right, if you demonize them, this guy gets more triggered by that than the fact that, again, this stuff is happening in the first place and people are losing their lives over the nonsense, okay? Again, there were 40 teenagers charged, okay? Charged and arrested. Also, you had some of the teenagers, they had guns on them, right? But again, Brandon Johnson is triggered that the media is calling this out for what it is. It's a mob. Take a look.
New here at 4:30, Mayor Brandon Johnson holds a rare press conference and addresses the violence on Sunday night involving hundreds of teens in the South Loop.
The mayor also denies that migrants have been moved because of Lollapalooza. Our political reporter Marianne Ahern was at that news conference. She's joining us now with the very latest. Marianne.
Good afternoon. Hundreds of migrants were moved from the 1st Police District earlier this week. Volunteers saying it was tied to Lollapalooza. The same thing happened before NASCAR. The mayor has been reluctant to take reporters' questions, but today provided a wide-ranging update.
You all know I have a very full schedule, and the people of Chicago want their mayor to show up.
Nearly 3 months on the job, and Mayor Brandon Johnson is asked why he's not more available to take media questions. When it comes to the migrant crisis, hundreds were moved out of the 1st District Police Station near Grant Park this week, but Johnson denies that's tied to Lollapalooza.
No one was moved as a result of Lollapalooza. We are moving people transitioning people into shelters.
The mayor also reacts to the arrest Sunday evening of more than 40 teens in the South Loop and the looting of a convenience store.
We're not talking about mob actions. I didn't say that. It's important that we speak of these dynamics in an appropriate way. To refer to children as like baby Al Capones is not appropriate.
Johnson is asked if he considers those involved Sunday as children.
I don't know how old all these individuals were.
Johnson defends the changes that he's called for in policing and says officers have intercepted other large gatherings this summer.
There's been a real strategic effort on the part of my administration to coordinate with civic leaders, with community-based organizations, again, with city departments. And so we're seeing some of the fruit of that labor.
Chicago police have been participating for years in what's called National Night Out. It is a way to forge a relationship between police and residents. It took place last night. However, Mayor Brandon Johnson did not attend any of the National Night Out events. But coming up tonight at 6, we will have his explanation of why.
Okay, look forward to that. Thanks, Marianne.
Yeah, so you seen that, you heard that. We have Charmin Ultra Soft, Baby Shit Doodoo Soft, woke Mayor Brandon Johnson basically getting mad at the media for referring to these children as a mob. Okay, he's like, we shouldn't be characterizing these children as little Al Capones, right? While at the same time saying, well, I don't know how old the people were out there. I don't know who exactly was out there, right? Again, it's amazing. It's amazing. He wants Chicago, he wants the media, he wants people to use soft language. Okay, he's more concerned about hurting the kids' feelings, right? These agents of chaos's feelings, more so than he's concerned about the people who are losing their lives at the hands of these agents of chaos. Like, for example, this security guard who happens to be a older black male, he lost his life after a teenage mob basically took over a movie theater in which he was a security guard, and they caused a lot of problems. He ended up losing his life over this incident. Take a look.
Now, only on 2, we're learning a security guard died just blocks away the day before.
Sabrina Franza is here. Sabrina, you spoke to his wife, who just wants to know what happened.
Jackie Fisher loved being a security guard, and his wife loved that about him. But Saturday was their 22nd wedding anniversary. She says she begged him to take off work, and he didn't. That was the last time that she saw him alive.
That day we went bowling on our anniversary, and he said to me he had to go home and get his clothes so he can go to work. And the last thing I remember, him going out that door and turned around and just looked at me. And that was it.
Barbara Fisher worried about her husband every time he left for work at the Showplace Icon Theater in the South Loop.
But he loved the job, and whenever they called him, whatever shift it was, he just went.
Recently, she says, his work became more and more dangerous. Fisher was beaten back in February for enforcing the theater's new rules. No guests under the age of 17 can enter without a parent or guardian after 6 p.m. It's a rule a staff member tells CBS 2 began after they saw an increase in disruptive young adults at that location.
I said, this is what you need to do. Go to work and just leave the teenagers alone. He said, but I can't do that because I'm getting paid and not doing my job. So it costed him his life.
Saturday, police sources say a group of teens visited the theater. 72-year-old Fisher was again doing his job. He tried to escort them away. He suffered some sort of medical episode and was taken to the hospital where he later died. The medical examiner has not released the official cause of his death.
So it's devastating.
Staff at the theater was not able to speak to us on camera. We've contacted their corporate office for a response to this. We've also reached out to Chicago police to see if there's been any arrests or movement in either of these attacks. There has not been. In the newsroom, Sabrina Franza, CBS 2 News.
Sabrina, thank you.
Yeah, so you seen that, you heard that. You seen that, you heard that. A security guard who happened to be a, older black man, right? Because that's what he is. He was a black man. He was what a man should be, right? Just trying to take care of his family, do his job. And he lost his life in a confrontation with some teenagers who, woke Mayor Brandon Johnson says that we can't demonize them, right? Again, these are the same kids that beat this man for doing his job. Right? And he still did the job regardless. He showed up to work, did what he had to do until eventually it cost him his life. And again, woke Mayor Brandon Johnson, soft Mayor Brandon Johnson. No, don't treat these kids like little Al Capones. Don't characterize them in a bad way. Don't demonize them. You might hurt their feelings. Why they're out here killing folks? They're out here destroying people's lives. And you think that the appropriate way to respond is to worry about hurting their feelings from words because you're calling it what it is? You call them out for their violent and destructive behavior. They're criminals. Again, this is why Chicago is just going to get worse and worse and worse. This is why it's going to get worse and worse and worse. And guess what? Again, just statistically speaking, a lot of the black folks in that city, this is what they voted for. They voted for these teen takeovers. They voted for the violence. They voted for the destruction. They voted for the illegals. And then you got some people sitting on Twitter who happen to be, you know, so-called black conservatives, whatever. Oh, don't blame the black people for who they voted for. No. It's the Republicans' fault. It's the GOP's fault. Because the GOP isn't running candidates in Chicago, right? Again, these are people who understand nothing about politics. Chicago had a chance to elect a so-called moderate Democrat, Paul Vallis, who at the very least was not a woke lunatic. Okay, he might have still been a standard Democrat. But Chicago, specifically the black folks in Chicago, had an opportunity to vote for a moderate Democrat. However, the moderate Democrat was deemed to be too right-wing for Chicago. And you got people out here who really think that if Republicans ran in Chicago, that a Republican can win when a moderate Democrat can't even win. They want us to throw millions and millions and millions of dollars trying to run conservative GOP candidates in a city like Chicago that votes for their own destruction and demise. It's insane. It's just plain ignorance. You don't understand how politics works. Until these people prove that they can at least vote with some sense of sanity in their own best interest, this city is lost. It's only going to get worse and worse and worse and worse and worse. Because Brandon Johnson, I mean, that guy, I mean, he's the worst man I've ever seen in my life. I've never seen anybody as naive as that guy. He's going to run this city into the ground. I mean, he's already there. It was just hard to imagine somebody worse than Lightfoot. They voted for somebody worse than Lightfoot. But yet again, you know, some people think that the citizens there, the people who voted for this, shouldn't take responsibility for it. Well, it's the GOP's fault, right? This is what they think. Again, it's funny to me how nobody really wants to blame the people who are responsible. It's not just Brandon Johnson, because he already told you what he's about. He already told you that he was soft. He already told you that he loves illegals. He wants to put them on your neighborhood. He wants them to take your jobs. He already told you that he's soft on crime, that he's stupid on education. He already told you this stuff. It's the people there who voted for it and the parents who are raising their kids to act like savages. These are the people that you got to really blame, right? And the teenagers as well, too. You got to demonize them, too. But ultimately, again, it's their fault because, again, this is what they vote for. And the people that suffer the most are law-abiding citizens who are just trying to do their jobs and feed their families and go about their lives, but they can't because they might be killed by a teenage mob. Then again, we're not supposed to demonize them, right? We're not supposed to say anything bad about them because their feelings might get hurt while they're out here killing folks. It's insane. Honestly, I'm speechless. I don't really have anything else to say. It's just, it's terrible. It's a terrible situation. Let me know what you guys think. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. Most importantly, share a black conservative perspective. Peace.